You know, Honda stock is up 9%. GM stock is down by almost 18%. Since those margins are so small, if the price that Honda can offer to US goes down by 5%, they're going to increase sales quite a bit. That means they're going to put pressure on GM to reduce the price. And that's going to decrease their cash flow, since margins are so low. You know, if margins were, operating margins were 80%, they could, you know, eat that loss without worrying about it too much. But when the market is that competitive, that 5% change in the exchange rate over 3 months matters quite a bit. And let's look at 1 year. Over the last 1 year, Honda, and remember, this is ADR. We're already measuring the stock in dollar terms, went up by 55%, and GM stock went up by only 0.5%. In the meantime, dollar yen went down by, dollar yen went up by 7.5%, which means yen lost about 7.5% its value. So Honda has a big advantage in US markets. They're more competitive. That's why we don't like it that much when China doesn't do anything about it. Let's actually look at the CNY. I know it doesn't necessarily belong with the GM, but similarly, Chinese yuan, or as it's known in China, renminbi, lost about 6.5% in value. Okay, so Chinese products are more competitive in US. Even if you're a company that has no foreign currency exposure, direct foreign currency exposure, you're going to feel the pressure of that. Again, how much you're going to be affected by that is going to depend upon your industry, you know, the margins. But if you're in a very price elastic sector, that's going to affect you quite a bit. So how much you need to kind of hedge yourself is going to depend on that. We're going to talk about those more on Wednesday, I'm sorry. So any changes in exchange rates will affect, to varying degrees, competitiveness of even a purely domestic company. Did you guys know that in 1970s and 80s, northern Massachusetts was a hotbed of textiles? Do you know of any textile jobs left in Massachusetts? No. Why? Because competition from China and Far East in general, and especially places like Bangladesh, Indonesia, Thailand. Not all of that is because of the cheaper labor costs over there, or outsourcing. Quite a bit of it has to do with exchange rates. In that regard, let's think about stuff that may affect the exchange rates. What's the first thing that you can think of? So the idea behind that is when you're hedging an exposure, you kind of need to figure out what are the things that are affecting your cash flow, okay? For example, what happens if US increases the interest rates but Japan doesn't? What do you think it will happen? Let's assume that this is kind of unexpected, because technically the expected stuff are already in prices. So what's different between Japan and US compared to 1 year ago? US interest rates, US yen exchange rate went up by 7.5%. Let's kind of look at some stuff. I'm gonna put in dollar yen here. Come on. Let's do a chart. Let's do 1 year. It's already there. Let me see. Treasury 10 yields. So over 1 year, dollar yen went up by 14%. Treasury yield went up by 30%. Not 30% increase, but they were about let me make this smaller so that I can read stuff. Oh, this is an index of the things. Okay. Let's also add Japanese 10 years. Let me find that somewhere else and get the tickers. I don't think these guys have it, but let me show you on MarketWatch. Actually, on CNBC. One year ago, 10-year Japanese bonds yielded about 0.25. Now they're yielding 0.77. So those yields went up by 50 basis points. Let's look at the numbers from US. It's a lot easier to see it here. One year ago they were about 356, now they're 466. They went up quite a bit higher. If you look at the short-term yields, they're even higher, the difference. Let's see. Okay. Let's look at the 3-month yield in US. These are the things that affect the exchange rates most. 1 year ago, 3-month yields were about 3.24. Now it's 5.50. So 2.25% increase. Let's look at the same number from Japan. Okay. Right now they're negative 30 basis points. And 1 year ago they were about negative 25 basis points. So effectively speaking, short-term interest rates hasn't changed in Japan. Maybe 3 months is too volatile. Let's look at the 1 years. Let's look at 2 years, since Japan doesn't have the 1 year listed here. 1 year yields were about negative 7 basis points. Now they're about positive 6. Not much changed. Let's look at US. Or treasuries, actually. 2 years.